So we are starting with the primary sector. I have already
Yes,
told you that primary sector is your, these three sectors I have told you: primary, secondary and tertiary. Okay, so primary sector basically deals with agriculture, animal husbandry, forestry, fishing, mining and quarrying. Quarries, they build quarries to take out a lot of minerals, right? So it is that primary sector includes all of this. That is basically, it involves all the natural resources which are further used as raw material for the manufacturing industries. Okay. The secondary is your manufacturing industry, construction, generation of electricity. Okay. Water supply. All these comes under the secondary. Okay. The tertiary is your giving of services, whatever services are provided, right? Whether it is a basic infrastructure or specialized services. So it has transport, communication, trade, finance, education, health, even government administration. All these comes under the tertiary sector. Okay. So now this chapter we are going to learn about the primary sector. What constitutes the primary sector and what is its place in the Indian economy. Okay. So primary sector, I have already told you, ours is a developing economy. Okay. So in a developing economy, majority of the contribution is from the primary sector. Yes, it is decreasing. Secondary and tertiary are increasing, but it is still there, right? Major portion, nearly 18% of GDP is still contributed by the primary sector. Okay, so it is the backbone of Indian economy. It is a main source of livelihood even today. Nearly 50% of the people are still involved in the primary sector. Ronak, Neha, switch on your videos. So these are, so see, I've given you post independence, nearly 72 people were involved in agriculture. Now this percentage has come down. Still, in 2014 census, it was 47% people. Yes, still involved in the primary sector, right? It contributes 18% to the national income. I have given you a table which tells you its contribution in each decade. See, 50, 51, when just after the independence, its contribution was nearly 51% of the total income. Like half of the total income, national income, was contributed by the primary sector. Okay, 60, 70, it reduced to 48, 90s may it reduced to 39. In 2013-14, it reduced to 18%. It has reduced to 18%. That does not mean that the primary sector has shrunk. It only means that this primary sector, the production has increased, but there has been a shift into the other sectors of the economy also, right? So less number of people are now involved in primary, but they are producing more. The productivity has increased. Yes, Ria.
Ma'am, can you show the previous slide?
Which one? The tertiary sector.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so this data does not tell you that your primary sector has anywhere shrunk. That it only means the number of people now involved in primary sector are less, right? But they are producing, the productivity has increased. That same less number of people are now providing food grain to the entire country. Okay, and the contribution to national income has decreased 18%. Now contribution from the secondary and the tertiary sector has increased. That is what which shows that we are now in the developing countries race. Okay, we have entered the developing country. The next is agriculture, the entire primary sector, that is a source of raw material to all the manufacturing industries. I have told you this already, right? Basic raw material, whether it is a sugar industry or whether it is a cloth industry, the basic raw materials is provided by the primary sector. Okay, in India, it has a portion, a substantial portion in foreign trade also, right? I have given you 13.7% of the total exports that we do from India. 13.7% is agriculture. Okay, agriculture, raw material plus goods made by these agriculture products. They both combine to form 13.7% of total exports, right? So it has a substantial amount of substantial share of the export also with it. Okay, then it supplies food grains. We have achieved self sufficiency in food grain. What is the meaning of self sufficiency in food grain? What is the meaning of self
Ma'am,
sufficiency?
that means we don't have to be dependent on other countries. We
Yes,
can
yes,
do
we
ourselves.
don't have to depend on other countries for food, right? We are self sufficient. That means we provide food for ourselves. Okay, we do not have to import it from other countries. So we have attained self sufficiency in food grains. This sector also supports trade and services, right? Trade and services like banking, transport, storage. Now how does this sector support these services? Explain. How does this
Ma'am,
sector support these services?
ma'am, this sector supports these services because we have to export our food grains. So
So
therefore these sectors help us export it.
banking, transport and storage.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, storage in a way. Yes, banking also. See how this sector supports these trades and services is our banking sector, right? Largely provides credit facilities to small and medium farmers, right, in rural areas. Okay, so their banking until what involves in banking, it is mostly credit, the giving of money and taking interest on the basis. Banks are, other than keeping your money as savings in the account, what is the major work of a bank? To mobilize the savings and give it to those sectors of the economy which require investment. Okay, yes or no? We have a large amount of agriculture people in rural areas, so these banking sectors, they provide credit to these small and medium farmers, right? That is why we say it supports the banking services, because majority of the work of bank involves providing credit and taking in interest. That's how they increase their money. Okay, transport, most of these agricultural goods, these use this transportation system to take their food from to different parts of India. Yes, so they avail these transport facilities. Have you seen, like wheat that is grown in the northern side comes to the southern side? How does it come? Because the transportation is good. So these transport services are also okay, taken care of by this agriculture. Storage, food is a perishable item. Yes or no? So you should have good storage facilities to store. How come the peas that are otherwise a winter vegetable are available to you in summers also? Because of these storage that are provided to you. So these storage also depend on agriculture, because agricultural products, they use a lot of storage. Potatoes, onion, when the prices are going high, what do the sellers do? They take out their things from the stock which they have. Okay, so so that the supply can be maintained. The government also buys agricultural products, it also has stock in their storage. So to control that rise in prices, they release the stock from the storage. Okay, so all these services are supported by the banking, supported by the agriculture sector. Okay, then what all
Yes,
is
ma'am.
there, right? So these are, these two slides, the previous two slides, I told you what part does it play in the Indian economy. Okay, where does the primary sector stand in the Indian economy? So still now, after 70 years of independence, the primary sector is still very important for our Indian economy, right? So now we will start with what are the problems that we face in this agriculture economy or in this primary sector. What problems do we face? The first problem is rapid growth of population. This I have, I think, dealt with previously also. We have a large number of population which has to be supported by this agriculture, and we have achieved self sufficiency, but our population is not coming under control, right? We are the second largest populated country in the world. Yes or no? Everybody knows
Yes,
that.
ma'am.
Yes,
Yes.
and our population, growth of population is not coming under control. Our death rate has come down, but our birth rate is still very high. I had shown you that in the last chapter, if you remember, in the third chapter when we were discussing types of economies, and we were discussing India as a mixed economy and India as a developing economy. Yes, I showed you an entire table wherein I showed you the death rate has come down. Yes, our average lifespan has increased, but our birth rate has not come down that significantly. It is still high. Okay, so this rapid growth of, yes, yes, Ronak.
But now death rate is high.
Now the death, that is for a specific period of time because of what is happening, right? Otherwise, in general, when we are talking about economy in general, we do not consider only one time period. Okay, for this specific time period it is high because we are going through a pandemic. Okay, right? So when your population increases, right, suppose on a acre of land 10 people were staying, now those 10 people has increased to 30 people, right? The population has grown to 30 people. So every person has a very small amount of holding with him because that land is further divided. Initially it was divided only among 10 people, now it is divided among 30 people. Yes or no? Yes. So holding per person decreases. Is it clear to all of you? Melvin, Shivam?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
So this is the problem with India also. The area of cultivated land per cultivator has declined because of this population growth. Okay. So I've given you a figure 0.43 hectare. It was per cultivator in 1901, which is now nearly half of it, 0.20 hectares only per person. The size of holding has decreased. Okay. 72% of land holdings in India are below 2 hectares. Now, what happens when we have a small size of land holdings? When we have a small size of land holdings, you cannot implement the benefits of a large scale development. Okay, large scale, that means lot of intensive technology or lot of technology to be brought in is not possible when you have a large when you have a small size of holding, right? For these technological improvements to be brought in, you should have a large holding. So that is the problem here. Okay, and productivity of land is much lower compared to developed countries. When we were doing types of economies, I had given you a table. If you remember, in developed economies the portion of agriculture is hardly 2 or 3%, and that 2 or 3% is providing food to the entire country in developing countries. Okay, but in India, what is the case? We still have people nearly 50% involved in agriculture, which is contributing 18% to the national income, right? So our productivity of land is very low as compared to the developed economies. Okay, is the first point clear to all of you?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. So the next point is conservative outlook of farmers. Now, what is conservative outlook of farmers? Our education levels are very low, ignorance is too much there, social outlook, we go by the social norms, the superstitions that we have, right? So all the illiteracy, we do not, our farmers do not know about the modern techniques, right? Even if somebody tells them about it, they do not have the skills to adopt that technology. So a lot of these things plus the conservative outlook, that means they do not want to get into the modern technology, right? So all this is also a problem for Indian agriculture. Okay, so
Ma'am, but their income level is also very low now.
that is why it is very low. This is the reason why it is very low, because they have not been able to increase their productivity. How do you increase productivity? You have to bring in intensive farming, you have to bring in modern technology, right? So
Yes, ma'am,
unless,
but how will they buy the modern technology if they don't have money?
I'll tell you how they will do. There are a lot of schemes that government is running for them, right? But either because of their ignorance or because they have a mindset like that. Sometimes our society mindset is also like that, right? We do not want to adopt the modern things.
Yes,
Yes
ma'am.
or no? Right? So all these things work together. for this conservative outlook that the farmers have, and they have not been able to adopt this technology. Okay, so that is one more problem that we face in Indian agriculture. Then next point is dependence on monsoons, right? We have lot of irrigation facilities. We have, the government has provided a lot of irrigation facilities post independence. Even the deserts have lot of irrigation, lot of big dams have been built, right? Water has been provided to many places, but still we lack. 70% of our cultivation still depends on monsoons, right? And monsoons, if you have seen, if you have taken heard the news for the past years, has been very erratic. Okay, sometimes it is too much of water, sometimes there is a drought condition, so sometimes it is insufficient rains, sometimes too much of rains are there. Okay, so out of the total land in India that we use for cultivation, only 45% land has irrigation. If there is too little rain, right, at least they have irrigation water to help them. But only 45% people, 45% of the land has irrigation facilities. So that means more than 50% people are dependent on rains only. So if the rains fail, there is nothing that they can do about it. So their crops also fails. Okay. Other than these, other natural calamities, earthquake, yes, earthquake is also a natural calamity which can happen anywhere, anytime. Okay, so because of all these things, their productivity suffers. It is not that this year, if I think yes, this is going to be the productivity I project looking at the last year, this year I will have a good productivity. It might happen that the rains fail this year and we have a drought like condition. So if I do not have irrigation facilities near me, then no water, my crops will suffer. Okay, so what I had projected might be 50% less than what I had projected. Is it clear? So our dependence on monsoons is a very big problem in Indian agriculture. Children, clear to
Yes,
all of you?
ma'am.
Yes. Now the fourth is defective land tenure system. Now what is this defective land tenure system? If you people have learned in history, you have learned about the zamindari system that is prevalent in our villages, right?
Yes, ma'am.
There are big landlords who have, we have less than a minute. This, after this topic I'll end meeting. Okay, so there are big landlords who give their land on lease to these tenants. Okay, and the tenants have to give some percentage of the cultivation to them, and that some percentage is more than 50%. Okay, so this kind of defective land system is also a problem in Indian agriculture. Although the government has done a lot to abolish this system, we will learn the steps also taken by the government. Government has done a lot to abolish this system, but it is still there. It is still prevalent in the rural economies. Okay, so tenants still suffer because the land is not there. They do not have any incentive to work or improve the quality of their land. Unless the thing is mine, I will not get the incentive to improve